Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. All right, everybody. Hi, back. Good to be back. Good to be back. Want to go ahead and do kind of a little bit of a follow-up from Thursday night's Aaron Torres pod. If you watch that show, we talked about a lot of stuff, most notably a deep dive into everything going on at the NBA draft combine. And we'll hit on stuff as more comes out following the combine. But we also talked about Mark Pope's press conference that he had in the middle of last week and some very interesting comments that did, in fact, come out of that presser. If you missed it, we kind of focused on the quote. I loved it. You know, a fan or a media member, kind of sarcastically asked him about the NIL budget. This, of course, after the report that Kentucky spent $20 million on NIL. Mark Pope jokes, "Oh, we actually spent $200 million." And then he said, you know, in all seriousness, we want to be number one in NIL, just like we want to be number one in recruiting, toughest schedule played. We want to recruit the best players, on and on. So it was a funny quote and what I thought was a more interesting quote about kind of the present and future of Kentucky. What's worth noting, though, is that it was just one quote from what was essentially like a 35-minute press conference. I went back and watched the whole thing in finding that quote. And Mark Pope really touched on basically everything to do with the 2025-2026 season. He hit on players, schedule, games, this, that, preparation. But I saw one more quote that I do want to talk about because I think it is very interesting about really, frankly, a player and, if anything, a pair of players that we haven't talked about much this offseason. And those are the two high-profile high school recruits that Kentucky has signed and committed, Jasper Johnson and Malachi Moreno. Now, I'll be blunt. I'll be transparent. Listen, I'm as guilty as anybody. This time of year, when you start putting together rosters, you get so caught up in everything that's happening in late March, early April, the players that every school is going after. Who are you signing? Who are the big portal names? Where are they going? That we sometimes forget both returning players, but also marquee freshmen as well. And when this 2025-26 Kentucky roster came together, make no mistake, two of the key pieces, I wouldn't say the two biggest pieces, which is a good thing, by the way, but two pieces that we probably haven't talked about enough are Jasper Johnson and Malachi Moreno. What I want to do now is play some sound from Mark Pope. You know, we probably won't talk much about Malachi Moreno because he really focused on Jasper Johnson. But I think it speaks to the fact that everybody, including me, I'll take the L on this one, probably isn't paying enough attention to Jasper Johnson going into next season. Here is what Mark Pope had to say late last week about his two freshmen, specifically Jasper Johnson, at the beginning.
I think Jasper Johnson is a superstar. I expect him to come in here and be great. And for every freshman, there is a learning curve in terms of the physicality and intensity of the game, the relentless physicality and intensity of the game. But Jasper Johnson has got a really, really incredible skill set. He's one of those guys there are very few players who just go get a shot whenever they want it. He can do it. He's got an ability to get skinny and kind of do things defensively that are going to be surprising. I think he's got an incredible upside on the defensive side of the ball also. I think he's got a crafty, slippery nature when you get downhill. He's got a poise about him. He's a little bit unflappable. He's able to kind of metabolize a lot of input and kind of keep himself even keeled. I think he's a big shot maker. I expect him to be great. Like, he needs to come here and be great, and that's what he wants to do. That's what we want from him. And this Malachi Moreno, I'm telling you what, man. Like, it seems like every day, college evaluators and NBA evaluators fall more and more in love with him. He just is. Like, he's, you know, he just keeps getting better, and he is getting better every day. We're really excited to have him on here. And, you know, as much as I say about those two kids and their basketball skill.
So there you have it. Mark Pope saying that he believes, and again, we'll probably save the Malachi Moreno conversation for another day, but I want to focus on Jasper Johnson because Mark Pope said he believes, quote, Jasper Johnson will be a superstar. And again, I just feel like we aren't talking enough about this guy. And again, like I said, I'm guilty as anybody. We focus on the portal. And from Kentucky's perspective, it's been such a fun, busy couple months. Mo Diabate, Denzel Aberdeen, whoever, Jalen Lowe, that you just kind of forget about the freshman. But let's focus on Jasper Johnson, because I just think, frankly, he's probably going to be better than a lot of people are giving him credit for. First of all, I'll say this. It's kind of funny, right? Because we're talking about Kentucky, biggest brand in college basketball. But I do feel like his whole process kind of went under the radar. Commits early. Now, we can go back to last August and September when he committed. I know for a while it looked like it might not be Kentucky. Early on, it was Bama, it was North Carolina. But once he commits, again, you focus on the first season. There's so many incredible moments in that year. Then you immediately go into portal season that we just forget that, oh, by the way, for essentially his entire high school career, Jasper Johnson, top 10 recruit in America. By the way, how he was not a McDonald's All-American, I have no idea. But beyond that, the exact kind of skill set that, frankly, Kentucky in many ways lacked last year. As Mark Pope said, he is the kind of guy that can get a shot anytime that he wants from any spot on the floor. He's a three-point shooter. He's a guy that can finish at the rim, mid-range game. I know Mark Pope said that physically he has some growing up to do. Guess what? All freshmen do. But an ability to just intrinsically be able to score the basketball, there just aren't that many guys coming into college hoops, so you could say that about. And so, yes, is it going to be a process? Of course. Listen, I was thinking about this. Mark Pope talking about the fact that, it's going to be an adjustment to the physicality of college basketball. That's every freshman in college basketball. I mean, look, you can even go back to Cooper Flagg last year, the splits between pre-Christmas and post-Christmas. Cooper Flagg said very publicly, hey, that 10 or so days off that we got around Christmas, I got back in the gym and really got back to work and had to refocus because I didn't feel like I was the best version of myself. So anyway, this isn't a Cooper Flagg segment. It's just to say that, yes, there are going to be growing pains. There are going to be with every freshman, from Cam Boozer, AJ DeBonsa, all these guys on down. But do I think that Jasper Johnson is going to be a big part of the success of the Kentucky Wildcats next year? I absolutely think that he will be. And when I think bigger picture, I think a couple things stand out. First off, like I said, he is just the kind of guy that Kentucky just frankly didn't have last year, except for probably Otega Oweh. And what was kind of the big knock on Kentucky last year? Great team, veteran guys, but they just didn't have those dudes that could create offense when everything else broke down. And they didn't have those kind of athletes that could just go and make plays when things were going off script. And so I go through this offseason, and we've talked so much about a guy like Mo Diabate, who could just go get you a board over five guys. Ball goes up and there's five guys going for it, and Mo Diabate comes down with it. We focused on the speed of Jalen Lowe, how quickly he can get to the rim, the ability to get others involved. We've talked about the power and physicality of Jaden Quaintance when he comes back. But again, these were the kind of guys that outside Otega Oweh that they didn't have last year. And Jasper Johnson is just another one, a guy that can get his own basket, a guy that athletically can blow by you. And I'll say this, listen, I know everyone's going to say, oh, Torres, you're just gassing up Kentucky. All I'll say is the more that I think about this roster, the more excited that I am. Because again, ultimately, now I'll be honest, I'm recording this before Otega Oweh has announced his decision. I expect him back. Maybe you'll be watching this after he makes his announcement. But if he comes back, think about, again, the difference in speed and athleticism from a year ago. Otega Oweh is going to be better than he was last year, so you have that going for you. But Jalen Lowe has a burst to him that nobody on that roster had. And I say that as a guy who loves Lamont Butler and believes he will find a way into the NBA. But Jalen Lowe has a burst that nobody on that Kentucky roster had. You have Otega Oweh. You have Denzel Aberdeen, who is just this big physical specimen of a guard at 6'5", 6'4", whatever it is. And then also you have Jasper Johnson in that backcourt. I mean, those are four guards that, I mean, I hate to keep using athletic, this, that, but put those four up against anybody in college basketball, again, in terms of the speed, the power, the versatility, the defensive versatility. There aren't very many guys like them. And there aren't very many backcourts like them. And so when I look at this team, it's hard not to be excited about the possibilities. And I would add this, it's almost a best case scenario for Jasper Johnson, because ultimately he's not a guy that is going to have to step in day one and be great. And so he has all the physical tools, but he can take his time. This ain't, the 8 years ago Kentucky where you need that freshman to be the best player on your team day one, moment one, hour one, minute one. And so he can probably, frankly, come off the bench, but he's going to play a big role. We know Mark Pope is going to play a lot of players, a lot of minutes. And I think he's a guy that can develop and, be a really, really good player this year. And then who knows? Listen, I'm not into projecting 2-3 years down the road in this era of college basketball, but he kind of strikes me as be, a double-digit scorer off the bench this year, average like 10 a game, and then be like the true superstar that we're talking about. Anyway, I'm getting off course. The point that I'm trying to make is that when I look at Jasper Johnson, again, I'll wrap by saying what I said a minute ago. I, like everybody, get so caught up in all the portal guys, all the roster movement of late March into April, even into early May. Probably haven't given enough credit to just how good Jasper Johnson can be. And apparently Mark Pope agrees because he called him a, quote, superstar. If you enjoyed this video, do me a quick favor. Make sure you subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. New clips and videos going up every single day. I keep saying it. We do not take an off season here. I think there's a lot of other places that once the season ends, they don't want to do any work. We keep the party going until there's no more conversation. Then we'll switch gears and flip over to football. But if you're not subscribed, make sure to do so. Make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We really do appreciate your support. Oh, make sure you're following our Torres on UK Twitter account as well.